back for season 2.
Right. Thanks for coming on, Bryan. Appreciate your time on a rainy Sunday.
On a rainy Sunday. Bryan with an I.
With a Y.
With a Y. Okay. Yeah. I was wondering, what's the backstory there?
My dad, I forget this story, how my mom wanted to call me Ryan, and my dad. So I think the compromise was they threw a B on the front of it, and here we are. So,
It's a win for your dad.
yeah. The compromise, I guess.
Yeah. So this market right now is crazy, right? So
Yeah. Wait, it's that, everyone's feeling it now. It's, I think, I feel like as a lawyer, I'm usually like 90 days behind you guys on both sides of it. Like, so when you guys start getting really busy, it takes me like 90 days to catch up and start getting busy because you guys have to get the product, start listing it, put it out to market and find buyers. And then when you guys die, it takes me about 90 days to feel that fallout because I'm still in closing mode. I'm still working on the stuff. But yeah, it's been rough. I think it's going to be rough for a little bit to come.
I was just saying to Bryan before we went live is that all the valuations we're doing right now are telling owners that the building's worth half of what it is. And there's a lot of sort of reality checking for a lot of owners and it's a long educational process.
Yeah. We were joking that, this estimate, everyone thinks that property's worth, 25 million when it's worth 4. And it's a wacky time. You just got to get through it.
we need a Zillow for commercial for this.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe we are the Zillow.
You are,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you've seen a few cycles. So this isn't the first down cycle.
Yeah, I've seen. I actually came in at the end of the cycle. I started practicing in 2000. So I came in at the kind of end of the cycle and kind of rode that wave to 2008. So here we are again. This one feels a little different than in the past. And I don't feel like there's any there were traction in the other down cycles that we had. I don't feel like there's any traction right now. It'll come. It just takes time.
Was that with Nick Donovan? Tom Donovan's brother.
Yeah. So I started at a firm. It was Donovan Giannuzzi and Nick Donovan, Nick Giannuzzi, and we were together there, I think, until about 2009, maybe 10. And then the Giannuzzi group broke off and kind of want to do their own thing. They're wildly successful now, which is great. And then we formed Donovan LLP with Nick Donovan, Kevin Monahan, Linda Donovan, and I was there until May of 22. So, and then just timing and just kind of work that, I now transitioned over to Jasmine Schlesinger, and I'm out in Garden City, and I've been there, like I said, since May of 22. So it's been great.
Nice. Why'd you become an attorney?
I had nothing else to do. It was, I think a lot of attorneys, like doctors, like it's one of those things you always like you always have a drive. You want to do this, right? Like, and I had a neighbor when I was growing up who was a lawyer, and he was like the quintessential like home lawyer. Like he had the office in his house, big house, and always looked like it was 1970 to 1996. I lived there with him or across from him, and it looked great. It looked like a great job. And then I started practicing, and I realized it's not that great. And then you get stuck. I feel like, well, I'm a lawyer. Here we are. So yeah, it seemed great. It is great. I mean, there's a lot. I always joke. I say, it's cool in the summer and warm in the winter. I'm not outside swinging a hammer. But it's. I like the deal making aspect of it. That's really what keeps me going with it.
Was your neighbor in real estate law as well?
I think at that point, at that time of the world, most attorneys like him were kind of jack of all trades. They did everything. He would sell a house for you. You were on trial for murder. Yeah, sure. Let's get
everything like in brokers as well. Like everyone's a bit more generalist when you go back and dive back.
True.
Yeah,
doctors.
Yeah, exactly.
Doctors too. Like you go to your general practitioner for everything. Now you gotta,
Your specialists.
You stub your toe. You have to go somewhere else, and it's the same thing in law now.
True. So grew up on Long Island.
Yeah, grew up in Oceanside. Lived still live in Oceanside. 49 years later.
Really?
Yeah.
Still there?
Yeah, still there. Still there. So yeah, I'm a Long Island guy. And
Great.
Then went down to South Carolina. Went to Clemson University. And then came back to Long Island for law school because I wanted to practice. I knew I was going to practice in New York. So,
right.
I don't know. My family's here. I loved living in the South. It was awesome. But my roots are in New York. So I'm been in New York my whole life. Don't see me leaving anytime soon.
Yeah, I feel like when you have New York in you, it's hard to go to another place and really.
My accent doesn't work in a lot of it doesn't really fit. I don't fit in well.
And your name is Irish, but I'm looking at you and you look more Italian than Irish. So
Bryan McCrossen. Bryan McCrossen. Raised in a very Italian family.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's kind of like Tommy Donovan as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I always thought Tommy Donovan was Irish until I met him.
No, it is. You look at this like, even Nick, you look at Nick Donovan, he looks like the poster child for Italy. He's, I've never met a family or Nick Donovan. My favorite thing about Nick Donovan is Nick Donovan can tan in about 30 seconds.
That's
It's wild. It's the wildest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, they are the poster children for Italy.
So when you got out of Clemson, you knew you wanted to be in New York. You wanted to do real estate deals. You knew at that time you wanted to be in real estate, or
I knew I did not want to do real estate.
Oh, really?
So I graduated Clemson and didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know. It's like a lot. Yeah, classic story. So I got a job at a YMCA driving a tractor.
That doesn't seem related to real estate.
No, not at all. I drove a Kubota tractor for about 8 hours a day, cutting the field of this big YMCA. And, I was, my mom hated my life at the time. She was sending me, every 3 or 4 days, I'd get a bunch of law school applications. She would just send them to me, just blindly send me law school applications.
Mama knows best.
Yeah. She was smarter than I was. And I was it was rainy. I was working on a tractor at 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? So I went through these law school applications, and one of the three that hadn't lapsed was Hofstra all the time because it was so late in the year. So I wound up applying to Hofstra. I got in, and then came back, started law school, and hated real estate. Just absolutely despised it. And said to myself, I don't want to do anything related to real estate and the law. And then got a job in real estate.
What was it about real estate that you just hated?
I thought that I cared for the professor.
Okay.
And it just left a bad taste in my mouth. But I first, of course, the first thing I start doing is, working with Donovan and Giannuzzi, and, I'm a real estate attorney.
Right.
That's your life now.
Mm-hmm.
And, 23 years later, here we are.
So sorry.
So Donovan's firm, when you were there for quite a long time, they had a lot of business coming in from Massey Knackle.
We did, yeah. We kind of, which was kind of great, and kind of still carries me today. We've all kind of started at the same time, like Massey Knackle, Nick Donovan. Nick, was friendly with Bob and Paul when they were just starting out, and then I came in and. When I came in, all the guys that Massey Knackle was hiring were my age. We were all 25 years old, with names that, pretty well-known names, Guthrie's and Clint Olson and, all the guys, Brock. And we were all kids. We were 25, 26 years old. And, we were going out and doing really big deals at the time and, going out having fun in that.
Yeah.
And so we kind of all kind of took this trajectory up together, which was fantastic. And some of my best friends are, still the brokers that I've met from Massey Knackle.
That's great. You're one of the few, well, not the few, I should say, but a lawyer who respects and values a broker. Not everyone is like that.
I think, yeah, I hear that all the time. And it's, that, there's always a lot of attorneys kind of pit themselves against the broker. I always take the position that we're all on the same team. And if this deal doesn't get closed, no one's getting, the seller or the buyer is not going to be happy and no one's getting paid. The goal here is to sell a building. So, if I can work with you to get a good outcome, why wouldn't I do that? As long as I'm not compromising my client, which, we never do. So I always look at it as a team effort, and that's kind of where I try to take it.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. I feel like right now, especially that team effort approach is critical to getting anything done, right?
I think so. Yeah. Because nothing's easy now, and even the deals probably 60% off, I think, for the year, volume wise.
Sorry, John, how do you track that in terms of like numbers of transactions or deal volume aggregate over the year?
I do it by deal volume.
Okay.
And I know it's really what I feel because I've been doing it so long. Like I track, I have all the metrics like you guys do. But I can remember being at Donovan's when Massey Knackle was really firing, having like 60 active commercial sales. I was with, wild 60, yeah.
Sounds a lot.
And then we went down for like 35 and I was like, I did something wrong. I go like the last cycle. So I kind of have a feel of it and I do track it, but it's just, there's just no, the phone's not ringing a lot is really is my biggest gauge of what's happening,
So what do you do when the phone's not ringing? Into this hernia?
There's always stuff to do. There's always cleanup. There's always I have a lot of legacy clients now that I've been working with for 20 years. So there's always those things there's always phone calls, but there's not that, there's not the action of, hey, we're getting deals done. It's more like,
client relationship.
Yeah. It's a lot. And the same thing like with you guys, during the downtimes, you kind of have to go out and really forge those relationships and, go out with your friends, go see your clients, take them out, go get dinner, go grab lunch. And, so I try to do that like 2 days a week now where I'm out meeting clients, and again, I've been doing it long enough that a lot of my clients have become friends. So it's not like a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
It's more, but to go out, but,
tag her on the body.
Yeah. Exactly. Every year that goes by, it becomes more and more difficult. But yeah, it's a lot of that. And it's a lot of just, improving the systems that you have in place because hoping or presuming it's going to all pick up again. When it does, you are ready to go.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of it too.
Yeah. Mitch and I have doubled down on that effort of late as well. Just the after hours and even before hours, not everyone wants to go for a drink. Some people want to go for breakfast. Some people want to go
grab a coffee at 8 o'clock in the morning. And listen, it's great. It's just FaceTime, right? Bob Knackle, one of my favorite things Bob Knackle always says is market presence, and it's so important for any business, not just brokers or lawyers. It's whatever business that you're in, you want to be that when people think I'm going to sell my building, they think of you, right? And that's what Bob has been hammering that for, I've known it for 22 years. And I've heard it 1,000 times over, right? And, it's really true. It really is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about like a young lawyer? How do they prospect for business if they have no clients existing? Would they, like a broker, would they go cold calling? And
not really. It's really hard to do for an attorney to go out and get clients like that. The best way to do it is for like I tell my attorneys, like the guys that work with me, I work with, let's just say, Tom Donovan. Let's just say take,
It's a Tom Donovan show.
It's a Donovan hour. We need about 6 or 7 more hours. No, but we Tommy has young guys on his team. You young attorney, go hang out with that young broker on Tommy's team because that young attorney or that young broker doesn't want to hang out with, old man McCrossen. He'd rather hang out with you.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of cultivating those relationships because you can't cold call, hey friend, you got a $25 million building you want me to represent you on?
Yeah.
It doesn't really.
And just like you said before, your careers will rise together. And
that's it. And, you'll get to a point out, I was thinking about it recently, like, soon enough, my team's going to start aging out, right? So you got to kind of constantly be out there. A lot of guys I work with are now, I got 5, 7, 8, 10 years left and I'm getting out of runway here, so it's that's, I think, the best thing. And that's what I did. When I came in, it was, okay, all these guys, these are guys that I can hang out with and they'll do deals and we'll do deals together. And that's kind of how it kind of evolved.
Yeah. It's great when you realize that you can just it's not work. You can just hang out.
Yes.
You have similar interests. You're probably cut from the same pot.
And that's why I love this so much.
Yeah.
This would be horrible if everything was just a fight. It was a knife fight every day, right? Like it's nice to work with people that you like working with, And I'm lucky I could be a little more choosy as to what I do and don't do. But it's when you can like I said, deal with you guys is great because we speak the same language. We, we're friends. It's not a big deal. It makes it a lot easier than calling up some random attorney and having yelling at you because, you didn't say time of the essence on the term sheet or some nonsense.
I have had that experience as well. So I remember that, what that feels like. Isn't it a great feeling?
No, it's horrible.
No, it's bad. So if we were to like walk through a deal just to kind of understand it from your perspective, because I feel like we understand it from the broker's perspective. So how does it kick off, say from cradle to grave?
So yeah, it really depends on what type of client it is, right? So a lot of times, like I said, I have clients that are long-standing clients, and oftentimes with those transactions, I know what's going to happen before it happens. Like I know the property's for sale, I know the buyer's coming in. But a lot of times, a lot of my clients, and what I was doing a lot with work with the guys at Massey, I would get a referral from an attorney, from the broker. So sometimes I never even meet the client, or sometimes I don't even know the deal's live until I get a term sheet. But the first thing that I get is a term sheet.
So that's what kicks it all off. You got a term sheet.
I get that term sheet. Once a term sheet hits my desk, if it's before 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's like a normal, not crazy transaction, I try to have a contract out of my office that business day. Time kills.
Amazing.
That's right. Yeah.
Time kills deals, right? So the deal hits, first thing is we try to get as much diligence that you had. If you had your, marketing your setups, whatever marketing deal you have, that's really helpful for me because I can see what's going on with the building. And then we do our own diligence going through Acris and, BizWeb and trying to see what's there. And then we start on the contract. And like I said, we try to get the contract out within a day.
What's the best? So if I'm a broker, I want to work with Bryan McCrossen and we're just starting on a deal, I send you a term sheet, I send you our marketing setup.
Yeah.
Any diligence I have.
If you have like a drop box, or if you have leases or things like that, that's always good to have.
You rolling.
Yeah, because especially if it's like a like a mixed use, like a commercial component. Yeah. I like to see the underlying commercial lease and look for things like estopels and S&Ps and things like that. Right. But yeah, once we hit that term sheet, we try to hit the ground running as soon as possible. And just keep the deals, pressuring the deals forward.
I imagine like us, like the due diligence has increased, particularly in multifamily assets, with all the laws, look back periods. Has that been the same for you? Yeah.
And half the time you don't know what's going to change tomorrow as you're working on transaction. But yeah, the diligence on, we would do deals and, people need to look at leases and now it's like, it's crazy, right? Everything's gotten so heavy.
But to get that term sheet or to get the PSA out that business day, you obviously don't need everything, right? You've got your framework ready to go.
I have,
that probably leaves you lots of.
I have a lot. It's like kind of choose your own adventure. And again, like I've done so many of these different, thousands of contracts over the years. I know where to find things. If I need this language, I've already drafted this, so I could cobble things together rather quickly because I've done it so much.
Gotcha.
And like for a new attorney, it might take them, 2 hours to draft a paragraph that I can draft in 5 minutes.
Right.
Because I've done it. I know it works. I know it doesn't work, and I can kind of move through it quickly. So we really do. And, it's a lot of like late nights, but I'd rather get that contract out. So the next morning it's, the other side's working on it rather than letting it sit.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah. Yeah. For, when a broker sends you a term sheet, I'm probably getting into the weeds now. Should he call you? Or should he email, or does it depend on the relationship?
It depends. A lot of times, most of the time I know it's, I'll get a phone call to say, hey, we're sending a deal over, or, hey, this seller's going to call you. Right. They're looking for representation. Let me know if you're good to go kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And that kind of, that always does help.
Does, yeah. Because I always do it and I'm always like, you don't know who you're calling or if you're annoying them or whatever.
Yeah, but you don't know if it goes to spam. You're always going to, it's like the worst thing. And then the worst thing you have is, you sent out a term sheet and the attorney doesn't realize he got it for 3 days or missed it. Or, you get so many, everything's so email intensive. How many times you click on something and you don't even realize it, you clear the email and you don't read it again,
I feel like you have to be forceful about I sent you this email. Did you get it?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that.
I think it's Brian's point. As a broker, you're trying to balance the fact of being pushy, but not too pushy where you're just being annoying.
It's the same thing with us though.
Yeah.
I send I send the contract to the other attorney and everybody has their own speed. I get the comments in, I want to get them right back out. The worst thing you want to have, or the last thing you want to have is someone's saying, hey, what's going on with this? How come you haven't looked at it, right? And so I try to turn things out or around as quick as I can. But at the same, sometimes I send things out and attorneys don't reach back to you for 2 weeks. And then you're like, okay, I called you 7 times to just let me know, or even, is this deal even still going?
Yeah.
So
you're trying to do the best to set the pace as quick as possible to, be as efficient and timely manner.
Yeah. Especially once, it is true. Time does kill deals. Right? Once people, if you can just keep the pressure on, at least from the contract side, while buyers are working through diligence and we can keep hammering the contract. I always think that's the best way to go.
Do attorneys talk to each other when they get a term sheet? Do they say, hey, I see you're the other rep on this, I forward to working with you?
Yeah, it's funny because as big as New York City real estate is, there aren't really many of us that do it, or that do it with any great frequency. So a lot of times, we all know, you guys all know the names, right? My competitors.
Let's listen. What we think of every one of them.
Yeah, it's tough to do next.
That'll be a good show.
No, they so like for the most part, I know all the guys that do this, especially in this kind of middle market, middle market work. If Craig Price, I'll call, hey Craig, what's going on, buddy? What do we got here? Is this going to happen? Yeah, we talk. It's there's like I said, there's not a lot of us and we kind of all do know each other that do it with frequency. So
I've often heard an attorney say, okay, good, I like that attorney.
All the time.
And it always makes me feel great because I'm just okay, good.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And I can tell you if a deal is going to be good or bad often before it even
just like the profile of the players
and the attorney is.
Yeah.
I have a list on my computer of my hate list of people I did.
It also must be very frustrating if you're dealing with an attorney who doesn't really practice this every day because it's going to be a lot of headaches.
That's the most dangerous type.
Yeah, exactly.
Really,
I've had that before with a residential attorney representing a commercial transaction. He just didn't get a lot of the language.
Because he won't tell the client that this isn't a special.
Yeah.
Well, and they also they get themselves. I have it going on right now, a transaction, and
you want to give them an off ramp.
Yeah, and I said I even made them the offer I'm the buyer on this particular deal, and I said, hey, I'll send you my contract that I use when I do a sale. You'll see everythting I'm asking you for. I'll give. If you want to use my contract, we'll even use my contract. I'm not looking to jam you up here. You get stuck in positions sometimes where they don't think something is correct, and they tell that to their client, and then they can't back off.
And that goes out.
Right. So it's always interesting.
And they could have been the family attorney for 25 years.
Besides the
Yeah.
So how can they
say,
oh, actually, by the way, I totally screwed this up?
100%. I always take to the, I'm not trying to get over on a deal. I'm not, I want to get the deal. I want to be protected for both sides of the buyer and the seller. I just want a square deal, and just make sure everyone's protected in the transaction. And if you go into the deal a lot of time thinking that way, I'm not looking to beat this guy up. I'm just looking to get the deal done and be fair about it. It always works.
Yeah. I remember I was asking for your advice on a deal once that we were trying to do, and you were trying to, do exactly what you're saying there, protect your client, but also get the deal done. So you were almost offering up hints of what the other attorney should be asking for. And then you're like, I do have a clause that they could use not to shoot myself in the foot. Just trying to move things along.
I just want to get things
if they're
done. If I could give you a lifeline to help you get this done, I'll do it.
How crazy is that though in New York? That's probably not that uncommon either.
It's not. No, it's not. And I
in our space anyway.
Yeah, it's not uncommon, but it's again, it's the whole idea of if we're not moving the deal forward, no one wins. So if I can just give some up, there are a lot of times I'm drafting. I'm like, this is shouldn't be doing this, but whatever. I was just
toss it over to see what comes back.
But it's just it's not almost it's hard. There's a standard of doing things.
There is, yeah.
And if you stay within the standard, and we can do crazy terms, but for the most part, it's just get it done.
Yeah. I'm not doing this as long as you, but probably Mitch will agree as well. It's the more deals you do, the more important you realize an attorney is
100%.
to get a deal. The amount of times that I feel like there was a deal, there was a real buyer, there was a real seller, and we just got blocked by just mismanagement of the deal.
It happens a lot. It does. I never want to be the reason that a deal doesn't happen, right? So I will try to, massage something 1,000 different ways to get it to work. There are transactions like the one I was talking about, the recent one, where I had to say to the client, like, I can't have, I wouldn't sign this.
Right.
If you want to sign this, you can, but I'm going to send you a 5-page letter as to all the reasons why I don't think you should sign this. And that's really super rare for me, because I usually can get to a spot where it works for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Do you represent more buyers or sellers? Is there a different mentality to representing a buyer rather than the seller?
Not really. I mean, when you're representing the seller, it's more kind of, it's a little easier. It's more finite, because you're just selling the asset, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever happened beforehand, you can't control. When you're repping a buyer, it's like it's very diligence driven. It's very, you got to make sure that this package works, and for as long as they own this property, right? So you're doing a lot more diligence. You're worrying about things like loan documentation, financing, how we buying this, what's the environmental issues, are there DHCR concerns, all these things that we have to deal with. But we, not only today, but we may also have to think about what's going to happen with this in 15, 20 years down the road. So when you do a seller job, it's see ya. Here's a contract. Take a hike.
And so then you get the term sheet, talk to the brokers, see what's going on. You have the business terms, you draft the contract, you send it out that evening if possible, or as quick as possible. And then what happens?
And then it becomes then it depends on the other side, right? So generally speaking, then what happens is we will get comments back from the buyer's attorney. We will continue to switch these comments back and forth between the buyer and the seller's attorney until we get to a form of contract that we both agree on. Once that's done, the contract gets signed, the deposit gets placed into escrow with the escrow agent, and we are in the closing phase. During that closing phase, we get title reports, and if we have a diligence period, we're dealing with our diligence. And we clear title, we clear whatever corporate exceptions there may be. And then if you're on the buyer side, you're dealing with financing. You're getting financing squared away with the buyer's bank and their attorneys. And then you're in then you start moving towards closing. Which is a different world now, as you guys know. Like it used to, the sit down closing that's all we did in New York.
I've never done one.
Yeah, so it was
showing my age.
It was awesome and it was horrible at the same time, because you would literally just lose days of your life sitting in a closing, getting a closing done. But it was great because you would meet people. It was awesome. Like you go and you could, you'd meet other brokers, you meet the other attorneys, you meet the principals, oh, you did a great job. I'm selling out the building. We'd like to have you, we'd like you to do that.
Yeah. But everyone's in a good mood, right?
Hopefully. It's face-to-face. And a lot of times I don't see my clients because, for whatever reason, especially with these remote closings, you never really meet. So it's a weird, but that being said, I had to do like a remote, an actual closing on Thursday. And I was in the closing room for 7.5 hours, and I was just like, "This is absolutely horrible."
Do you see that coming back to a sit down? No,
I think
just 'cause it's way more efficient.
So we were kind of moving away from them. Like most of the attorneys that do out of state transactions were moving towards remote closings anyway, because we were closing. You might be buying a shopping center in Florida, and we were moving everything that way. So we were getting used to it before COVID. And then once COVID hit, it's just done. I don't ever really see it happening.
Is that good or bad?
It's different. It's good in that you save, for the attorney, you save a lot of time. You're not out of your office for the day.
Does the client indirectly save then by the billable hours, or is it just
it's funny enough, the remote closings take longer. Yeah, because you would, with the sit down closings, you'd be able to go to a table, you'd take your documents with you, you'd have everything there, everything would get signed, the paper would go where it needed to go, you'd get a check, and you'd leave.
Never thought of that.
The remote closings are like a slow death. They start at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and they inevitably don't fund until 6 o'clock at night. It's because people are doing other things. You're not a captive audience.
Yeah, I think it's just your communication is way more effective in person, because you can relay your message much easier.
And it also takes, there's a lot of, for the attorneys, there's a lot of time. a lot of people don't think about, but, I have to get my paperwork produced, Federal Express or emailed to somebody to have them printed out, sign everything, get a notary, get it back to me to process the paper, get it to the escrow agent. So for me, I start thinking now about closings where, weeks in advance, because I have to, okay, how am I moving the paper? What are we doing to get this done? So there's a lot of just extra steps that got added in that really we didn't have when we did the sit down. Suppose you did your papers for closing, you closed.
I almost feel like as a broker, I prefer to sit down because I feel like everyone's invested the time in their day to get there.
Yes.
So there's a feeling of we're not leaving till this is done.
True. But my advice to every broker I ever worked with was don't come to it.
I've heard that a few times. You're vulnerable to a commission cut.
Nothing good ever happens for a broker.
There's nothing that good ever comes from a broker being at a closing. I said it to every broker.
So that's your advice. Don't go. Don't go.
Unless you want to show up at the end, like if sitting in the car and waiting for the attorney to call and say we closed.
Yeah.
And then you walk in with a bottle of champagne and call it a day.
Tom Gavino had a great, Tom Gavino, obviously, and Tom's a great mentor of ours. And he said, you should show up to the closing, bring lunch, but don't even go in, just have it like sent in.
Yeah, 100%.
And regards from Tom.
Exactly, 100% right. You're going to get beat up. You're going to get beat up.
Yeah.
You're just a walking checkbook at that point.
Oh my God.
Do you have any crazy sit-down closing stories you'd like to share?
I have a lot, actually. I have a lot. One of my favorite ones was a woman. This is right after September 11th, so this is going back. And we were at, I forget what law firm I was at, but we're doing a big closing, and we're all in the closing room. And this woman, for weeks leading up to it, was telling me that she was the hockey coach for, I think, Cornell. So we're in the closing, and, she's just walking around this other, I think it was a big law firm. She's walking around the firm. And she walks into the closing room and pulls a hockey puck out of her. She starts randomly throwing a hockey puck up in the air and catching it. So she does this a few times. And she kind of flips one up and it hits the wall, bounces off the wall, and catches her straight in the bridge of the nose.
No.
She goes down like a sack of potatoes.
Oh, my God.
And starts screaming. She's bleeding from the nose. The title closer jumps up. I jump up. I couldn't, she's screaming.
What did you do?
I hate to say it. I started to laugh because it was such a crazy.
What else?
We had to close. We had to adjourn the closing because not only did she break her nose, she also didn't bring any of the paperwork. So the only reason that she was there, she didn't actually effectuate, and then she broke her nose with a hockey puck.
So she took one for her team.
Yeah, she took one right to the face.
Oh my God,
it was wild. That was what
physical workers' comp.
Yeah, I had one where we were doing. The one of the sellers thought we were stealing the property and was banging on the closing room door. I was out on the closing on Long Island, and they had to actually call the cops to have them escort him out of the lobby of the law firm I was at.
But why do you think you're stealing the property? Just the title?
It was a whole management. There was a whole bunch of different members in this LLC, and he was a minority.
Okay.
Just crazy.
People are crazy.
They get crazy. It's really,
they are getting crazy.
Like every time you open up the paper, it's like, wow, this is ridiculously nuts.
I think it's as well because there's so much money at stake, and when you're selling a property that maybe your great grandfather gave you, and then your father gave you, and now you manage, there is a lot of stress as well,
and emotions
that probably bring out the best and the worst.
Yes,
more often than not the worst. But then I think after the dust settles, they're often appreciative of well done, that was good.
I find a lot of people, especially when you deal with these families, that they're so in it, they're so entrapped in the building, and even if there's multiple buildings, it becomes such a like you said. I had one client where she was telling me how her and her mom every Saturday and Sunday would go to the building. And this is going back from the 50s, and they would sweep the sidewalk, and they would have breakfast there, and they would work as a family in this building. And it becomes such a part of some people that they can't separate themselves. It's always a weird dynamic when you have those types of transactions.
I think for me it would be, am I getting everything that they have built for us? Am I getting the full value and being able to pass on as much as possible?
A lot of people have seller's remorse, but not the way you think. They feel and I actually have one woman who would, say this, I feel like I'm doing my family a disservice. Like she was the sole heir left of it, but she felt like
a lot of pressure.
Yeah, they did all of this, and here I am reaping the benefit of it. Why? Kind of thing. So yeah, it's.
But people are nuts, and I think showing up to a closing, like any closing I've ever been to, I've just never walked away happy, just relieved. It's always for you. It's probably just another day. For me, it's just this like combination of like the last 6 to 12 months of like work.
Yeah, it's because I've done a lot, right? So I've been through a lot of closings, a lot of closings.
Good, you're dead inside, unemotional.
Yeah.
We try. That's good advice for us brokers. Well, brokers annotate. It's like be unemotional.
No, but
Crescent died live.
No, it's you do get somewhat, detached from it because you can't. I never want to be emotional about the transaction because if you're emotional about it, you're not making the right decision. So you have to be vested in the deal, but you need to be level headed about what you're doing so that you don't say, screw that guy. We're out of here. Right. That you can say, okay, yeah, I don't like this guy, but what again? How am I going to make this deal close?
Yeah,
that's really the goal. That's why we're all here. That's why we do what we do.
True. Do you have any little tools of, the quintessential difficult attorney in the opposite chair for you? Do you have any like default tactics that you go to?
So we used to do the pack up and fake leave in a closing. This is one of my favorites. We all pack that stuff up.
But you got to be committed to leave.
Yeah. We'd all stand at the elevator like slowly.
Well, let's back in.
We could come back. No, I mean, it's just, listen, I treat everybody on transactions with as much respect as I possibly can. I think that most of the attorneys that do this know me now. My name is good enough in the industry that I'm not yelling at closings. I'm not banging my fists off the table. It's not me. Mm-hmm. I think it's just being respectful to what you're doing in the process, and or it will happen. And it's worked for me. It's worked for me so far.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me of something Paul used to say. It's like you can't really bluff the market. When you can't bluff an offer, right? All you can do is do a good marketing process, and you'll do your job to your best ability, and then you will create a good market to run a process.
That's right. And if like I said, we all do with a group that do this regularly. If I can't give something, they already know I'm not going to give it. Like I said, Craig Price earlier. Craig Price sends me a contract. Craig Price already knows exactly what he's getting back. Because he knows he's going to put something in there, and he's going to say, "Hey, to himself, Bryan said, I'm going to give me this, but I'm going to put it anyway."
Yeah,
and vice versa. So we all kind of
a little surprise.
Yeah, we all kind of play the game, but at the end of the day, we all get to the same part because we all know what we can and can't do.
Right. So you go through that part. You negotiate the contract. On average, comments come back and forth. And I know it's like there's no average, but if there was like the 60%,
it's probably like within a week.
And how many rounds to actually execute on average?
So now
down the middle transaction.
Yeah. Now we're looking at like I'm seeing wall negotiations. It's not uncommon 5, 6, 7 rounds.
So 5, 6 total. You do 3, they do 2.
It depends on the transaction. Sometimes you think like sometimes the really big transactions you can do it in 2 rounds.
Right?
Because everyone's kind of a little more professional and kind of gets it done.
That's a really nice way to say it.
It's really
more professional about that. Best of mid-market Wild West.
Still less entrepreneur.
Exactly. My favorite is like, now I'm getting the comments like, I want to take out the middle of the building and put in a new stairwell. I'm like,
the buyer's obviously just doing that to try and buy themselves time to line up financing or whatever.
It's all different things, but it's but I would say generally 3 turns is on a normal market. I get a turn back. I send up the contract. I get a round back. I'll send back. Then usually it's a phone call.
I always feel like the phone call that's when okay, we're about to sign because we've gotten
through everything.
We've done the dance.
Yeah. And then if you keep putting the same comments back in on the
what are we doing?
Why? So let's just talk about this. I'll tell you why I can't give you this.
Yes.
You tell me what you think you need.
Yes.
Let's try to find something that we can both work with.
The best way.
And once you get the phone call, you're hopefully you're
Yeah. So then you go, the contract is hard, non-refundable. How many contracts would be soft in New York versus?
Not many.
It's rare, right? I want all the buyers listening to take note of that, because they always tell me it's crazy that we ask for a hard deposit.
It's super rare. If we do some form of diligence, if we do allow some kind of a diligence period, we try to be very surgical and narrow as to what we're allowing to happen. So if you tell me that you need to do your phase one, well, I'll give you 15 days to do a phase one, but it's just to do a phase one, and so we're very, like I said, we try to keep the box as airtight as we possibly can so that we know we're going to close. That was always the Massey-Knackel mantra, hard contracts, no contingencies, 10% deposit, limited to no representations. And that's kind of how we always started.
Yeah. And then from that point on, you're usually 30 to 45 days.
Yeah, a little bit more now. Yeah. But 40, I say 45 to 90 is probably 40, between 45 and 90, maybe 45, 60, 60, 90.
Gotcha.
We really try to set time of the essence dates this way. We know we have a date certain to close. And that's it. Then we're just going to.
So you show up at the closing table. Do you ever see that a broker invoice is not in, or that, someone's trying to it happens. It happens. Yeah.
Especially like I said, there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff you have to get together for these closings. It was very easy to say, oh, we're doing a sit down. The broker's coming to the table. He'll have his invoice. Yeah. If he wants to get paid, because they always have their invoice. Now it's like, I got called, who doesn't call me back? It's a whole thing.
I was going to say, a broker, if he hasn't got an invoice, then he's not thinking probably.
Yeah,
the first thing he does. Brings it to the pitch.
Brings it to the pitch. Yeah,
exactly.
So that's basically the timeline of a deal, and you're probably talking anywhere from 60 to 90 days, I bet.
About that, from execution,
yeah. And then everybody shake hands, someone gets a building, someone gets a bunch of money.
If we do it right, that's the plan.
Yeah. And then move on. And then outside of the deal, so, what are some things that buyers and sellers can do to put themselves in the best position to win a deal or to sell a deal?
Again, I think it all goes back to that, especially for sellers, for being reasonable and in markets like this, realistic as to what your value is. We was joking about this estimate. I joke about that all the time. So I actually had somebody who told me that this estimate was 12 million once, and the property, I think it was John Sorallo, the property was worth like $4 million. People need to be realistic, and not only realistic, but you have to take the advice of the people, the professionals will tell you what this is worth, not that I have a feeling it's worth something. And that's really, and from buyers and from buyers in particular, you need to be true with your offers, and you need to, because you guys, I'm sure you have the same list I have of names of, this guy is a schmuck, he's gonna retrade us 15 times.
Right.
So be realistic in what you can or can't do, and just make that offer based upon that.
I feel like a seller needs to hear that from a lawyer more than a broker, because they're a lawyer and they more have a higher education than just a smucky broker. So they need to hear it from
there's a status thing, isn't there?
There is, yeah, because you went to law school.
We went to the Midtown School of Real Estate.
I've got 75 outputs. We always joke though. 75 hours.
Some attorneys have a chip on their shoulder then, because like we were saying, when that invoice comes over, and it could be for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh, it drives the attorneys crazy.
Yeah, finally someone admitted.
Oh no, it drives you nuts. It drives you nuts. Like the attorney's been working on that deal around the clock for the last 90, whatever it is, 180 days, and making $12,500, and you guys make a phone call, find the buyer, and you're like,
that's all
and it never is just a phone call. Like.
That's not how it works. It's not one and done.
That's all it is.
No, it does. Some attorneys, it will. You have a lot of attorneys that become brokers because of that.
Oh, that's the best one. The guy who's the attorney, the broker, and the mortgage guy.
He runs title. Yeah, he'll do title for you. He'll dry clean your clothes.
Yeah.
No, they're out there, man. They're out there.
Yeah.
So you have a reputation of a closer within the industry. What do you do to sort of keep sane? Are you up at 5 a.m. meditating? Or
walk us through your day. That's a great one.
So my day, So I used to get up every day at 4:30 in the morning and go to the gym, and I go to the gym for 2 hours every day. Since COVID, that's gotten less and less to zero. So I have three little kids, which do not at all keep me sane. But so I get up, and then my wife and I have the whole dance of trying to get my kids dressed and out of the house for school. Which my wife, who she was a partner of Massey, my wife.
No, really, I didn't know.
Yeah, my wife, Agila Walker, she was the HR and partner. Okay, so I didn't marry her for the deals.
There's a lot of love stories that came out of Massey.
Yeah, and she was a real Cupid place.
Yeah, it really was. I love that Tommy taught it. And then it's just work. There is no there. It's just I go to the office and then I go home.
So you used to get up at 4:30 when you were more of a savage that didn't have kids and just answered to yourself. It's so much easier. Right? Mitch is in that mode, right?
Yeah, it's a great mode.
Yeah,
it really is I got to get back into it. And every weekend I'm like, I got to go join another gym, and then
because it's always the gym's problem.
Yeah. Like I can't go outside and jog down my block at damn gym. Well, what happened was my gym didn't change hours. They didn't open out.
Gym's too busy.
5 to 6:30. Yeah. It was like 6:30. Like my day's over at 6:30. It's just now it's just dealing with the kids and dying around with school stuff and just trying to keep sane with the transactions.
Yeah, it is a nice contrast on Friday evenings. I feel like even though the kids and family is its own animal, it's just different.
Yes.
And I feel like on Friday evenings I turn off the phone like a lot of our Jewish friends do, and it's a great tradition.
That's great.
Where you're just like, okay, now we're home, and the blood pressure comes down, a little bit.
I got to tell you, a lot of weekends, so that Monday morning rolls around and I cannot wait to get out of the house.
100%. That's the nice contrast is that then you're back out and work is kind of a break, but you do feel refreshed in a weird way.
You do.
Because you're not just looking at people trying to, everyone's trying to fight you at home as well, but these guys are actually trying to mess you up. They want blood. Your kids don't want blood.
Hope not. Not yet, at least.
What time do you get into the, because attorneys I feel like always get in after 9. Do you get in before 9?
Yeah, I'm usually in by it all depends on the day, but usually by 8:30.
Okay, so you're in early, and then just
I like being in early. Because once the phones start, the day's over.
Yeah. Do you have any way of splitting up your day in terms of phones and just because you must have a lot of reading time that we don't have, right?
I do. No, if I'm reading, I generally try not to. I'll put everything to voicemail for an hour or two if I get through something.
Yeah,
but other times it's a lot of start and stop. I have a lot of full starts on things during the day where I'm definitely doing this for the next 2 hours, and then 7 hours later I'm still picking it up to work on it. You just kind of go with the pace of the day. Mm-hmm. And the phone and the email. The emails crush you too. It's just crushing.
Especially for you because everything you put in on like written or documenting, I feel like you must have to read it.
That's why I called you guys all.
So smart.
Saves a lot of brain power.
Not going to catch me on that.
No, that's great. And so that's the morning. Then in the evening, you said you could be out in the evenings, maybe doing some business development.
Yeah, like 2 days a week. I've been coming in.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get in 2 days a week.
Yeah,
and it's just trying to do business development, get people out, get in front of people, and it's just a lot of it too. It's fun, hang out with you guys, hang out with Tom Gamino.
Right,
it's fun. It's good to see those guys.
Yeah. Have you're building a team at Jaspin? What's that look like?
We got a good team already. Yeah, they have a really good real estate department. They have some really, really talented transactional real estate attorneys. The leasing attorney, my partner Steve Epstein is fantastic. Guys, he's a monster. And then we have a whole banking division, which is huge, phenomenal. Mm-hmm. So it was great. I came in and there was like a team already in place that kind of around me. Not around me, but for me, to use and help with and helped out. So it's been really, really positive. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was great. Just it's just turning out the paper. Sometimes it becomes so much paper to turn out that you just need you need 3 or 4 people just to help you get it out the door. It's like, all right, so if they have that there.
We're in that process right now. We're hiring someone, just like a lot of admin work to do, a lot of just back office type of work to do. So it's definitely important to keep yourself as much efficient as possible.
And that's the stuff I hate doing. I have to deal with, for me, when the transactions come in, once the contract is done, I like to take that and hand it off to one of the associates to do the middle part. And then I come back and kind of, I check on it every day, a couple times a week. I'm checking on it, going through the file, making sure everything's okay. But the day-to-day kind of work on the file, someone else is doing.
Yeah. You don't need to be checking. Did this guy send in that?
Yeah. And it's not fair to the clients either, right? Like,
because
and that my billable rate, man, you have it, somebody else do it for a third price. So, no one wants, I don't want to sit on the phone with DEP ordering or water reading. Like,
not a good use of your time.
Yeah. It's horrible.
Yeah. Or anyone.
So if you get, especially, or everyone, exactly. So I try to hand things off once they're signed in. Like I said, come closing, I'm back. I check the numbers, I go through everything, and I do the closing. I do the mechanics of the closing.
It's so similar to a broker, isn't it?
Yeah, it is surprisingly similar, actually. Talk to you now, it makes me realize that.
It's just, it's the same type of cycle.
It's the same thing.
Using your own ability to, to the best that it should be used, and not getting into the weeds on items then that don't require.
Yeah, and it doesn't benefit you. It doesn't benefit the deal.
Right.
And it when you do, and I, because I've gone, I've been in the weeds on things that I shouldn't, not that I shouldn't have been, but I had to be,
Yeah.
But then your time isn't being spent on other things that could generate more business, right? Like if you're making copies or doing a setup when you could be out trying to source another deal, you just potentially lost that other deal. Right?
That resonates a lot with me.
100%. Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, it's hard to let go of that kind of control to let someone else do it.
Yeah.
But you have to do it to expand the platform.
Right, to grow.
And the fact that you're even like measuring your metrics like we are, like your dollar volume and your number of transactions.
Yeah, you definitely would have been a broker in another life. Yeah.
Thanks. But I'll remember that next time I give you that big check.
It's could have been you, BMac.
There was a time right before my daughter was born, my first child, that Paul and I were talking about me going over to MK at the time. And
Get out. So what year is this?
This must have been about 14.
14.
Yeah.
They were just about to sell the business.
Yeah.
He was going to throw you in.
Yeah. I mean, but it would have been a great offer. I met with Bob Burt's son to go on work on his team. And it was just, I was like 30, whatever I was, 39 years old. I found him 41 years old. Like, man, I need a salary. I got a kid coming. Like, I can't do that. I'm too old to do this broker stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I think I would have been a pretty decent broker.
No, you would have been a great producer for sure. Right. I think the best attorneys, in my opinion, are the ones who can, like Rich said, put themselves in the broker's shoes and realize that, that's a lot of times that's your referral source as well, right? I mean, ever someone says an attorney, like, I'm always thinking about you, or depending on the deal, like who is it a good fit for? And it's I mean,
that is, the brokers always have been a big source of our referrals. Always. Yeah, but I think most attorneys are like that they have to be, because how else are you going to get in front of these clients, right? You need, it's very rare that you meet somebody, on a temple, a church, or whatever, and hey, I want you to meet my lawyer. It's been around.
Yeah.
So you need the introduction. And you hope it's, you do a bit of job by the brokers, they get you in. Yeah.
Cool. So in closing, I know the Jets are playing the Giants. Kickoff is right about now, but wanted to hear what your plans are for the next 5 to 10 years at Jaspin and beyond.
Yeah. My plan is to keep doing what I'm doing, and just, I want to expand the entire, my base, right? The deals are getting larger. Overall, and I kind of want to keep doing that, keep moving towards that. I'm really curious to see what happens in the next. I'm really more focused on the next 1 to 2 years, maybe 3 years. hoping that 4 years to see where the market goes.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see how this all unfolds. Everybody has their theories and speculation, but it just starts at a board right now. No one really knows what's going to happen. So I'm curious to see how that plays out and when it turns. But yeah, the plan is just to keep going and make it as big as I can get it.
So you plan on shifting more out of the middle market to institutional space?
No, I think it happens. My deals are getting larger because my clients are getting larger.
Yeah.
They're doing bigger things now. No, I love middle market. I love.
You get to meet all these other crazy people. Otherwise, you're too professional.
Not many people, not many institutional clients are going to be whacking themselves.
You'd have a lot less stories if you were institutional.
Yeah, what fun is that? No, I love this space. I think this is. I would not want to be solely involved in large institutional transactions. The people make this great. Like,
I agree.
And it's the clients, it's the brokers, it's the whole tapestry of the transaction. Really, really makes it awesome. This it's like I said, there's so many stories. We can turn the camera up. I gotta
I'll get another 6-pack instead. That's awesome. Well, Bryan,
thanks for coming on, Bryan. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We love working with you. I know you were a long-time relationship at our new firm, Ribco, and we're looking forward to doing plenty more deals together.
Definitely.
Yeah, this
Definitely.
This is great. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.